I guess thank you all for talking. I'm guessing nerves, excitement ahead of the premiere later on today. But I guess my first question would be to Paul and Peter. This is a an idea that's kind of been percolating for a number of years. I think originally it was maybe an idea for a fictional podcast. What was it about kind of the state of the world today that made this the right time to tell this story and also for it to mark your kind of your directorial debut in features?
Well, I think, for us, we kind of, when we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do as this first feature that we wrote and directed, we kind of started with trying to come up with something where no one could tell us no, that even if we couldn't get other producers involved, we could still make it very small and contained. And I have a background in documentary editing and producing. And so we started talking about fictional documentary as the format. And Peter and I really like working, like kind of setting up parameters and then going, okay, let's solve a puzzle within that. And I think we're big fans of, science fiction, horror, all this kind of stuff, the X-Files kind of stories. And, this idea that, Peter had like a decade ago kind of seemed like it fit well to this format. And, it's also subject matter that I think we're both very interested in, and technology and what's real in footage and everything is becoming more applicable. I mean, when we started writing this, like early 21, like AI video and all that was, I mean, it was definitely not what it is now. So the movie has like oddly become more and more relevant, more topical. Even though the film isn't about AI video, but it's the themes have become more relevant.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we first decided, okay, this is the one, let's put all our chips in on making this one. The themes that we're talking about are what interested us. The idea of how people can quickly fall down online conspiracy rabbit holes and whatnot. And so that's what interested and motivated us. And I think that unfortunately in the last couple of years, those themes have only been cranked to 11. And the idea that people can see footage, they can be presented with footage that they are a part of and not be able to acknowledge that they are a part of it has just become more and more thematically relevant. I wish I could say that we saw it coming, but I think it just kind of worked out that the themes that we wanted to explore became much more present and top of mind when we actually made the film.
And it was really reinforced by the character dynamics we wanted to play with, and the idea of a film about family members making a film about family members and being able to trust them and that sort of thing. And we were really inspired by Sarah Polley's documentary Stories We Tell, and how that is a film that kind of digs into family secrets and that sort of thing. And so it was kind of, once we kind of started understanding that was the direction we wanted to go with the characters, it just, all these things kind of fed into each other symbiotically.
I mean, the song in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure says, two heads are better than one. You guys are, directing duo. What are the advantages, do you think, of working as a team?
I would just be honest and say that it's a lot of fucking work, and having a second person to bounce off of is necessary for me. It's interesting that Paul and I, we've been working together for years and years, and we have a similar tastes of things that we like, but we often like things for different reasons. Even if like we're both, oh, I love that film, I might love it for one reason, and Paul loved it for a completely different reason. And so it's very organic creative flow that we have where we shape ideas, and it might get to the point where we both start liking an idea and then Paul is actually picking up on one side of it that wasn't as interesting to me at first, and so then we lean into that, and it shapes, it sort of bends like a river until at one point it's sort of between us. And so I think having that flow is really, really good.
Yeah, I'm very thankful we've developed the working relationship that we have to get to that point. And we both like trust each other 100%, where if one of us thinks something is a good idea and the other doesn't, then it's not a good idea. It's not the idea that we want to develop. And so, it's really not, it's not my voice, it's not Peter's voice, it's this third voice that kind of just sits in between us. And it gets to the point where it's like, I don't know who wrote what. or where ideas came from in it, but it just finds a way.
And I think from doing like some reading and some researching, this was actually, quite collaborative outside of yourselves, but also, the rest of the cast got involved. I think, John, you had a hand in, suggesting certain Bible passages and, the whole opening sermon. For you guys as actors, what was it like kind of, working on this film where there does seem to be such a big element of collaboration?
Yeah, there really was. It was such a pleasure to be afforded the trust to contribute in that way. And I think part of that, one is working with two directors. If everybody could do that every single time, because it always means that one director is sort of available while the other one is, so at any given time, any one of them is you're able to sort of approach and talk to. And I think for cast and crew, that's perfect because we all almost always need to speak to the director at any given time. Yeah, they were very receptive. I mean, I've known both of them. It's kind of funny because I've known them both individually, but not as a unit. I've known them both individually as separate friends that were not part of the same friend circle, as weird as that sounds. And so I think they both had an awareness of like my improv background and then my background as a kid that grew up in the evangelical church of just they would say literally like, okay, just riff like or find something out of the Bible that you think would work and do that. Or then can we get some improv of you for maybe for the edit for later? Like the opening scene specifically was one of those things of just like, let's get some stuff of you that we might be able to use here or there, peppered throughout, and then it ended up becoming the opening of the film, which was, was again an improvisational moment. I think it starts in the script and then it goes into the improv.
In my experience of the collaboration on set, I think for the found footage genre, there is a lot of pressure on the actors to know who you're through and through because there is nowhere to hide. And whether you're doing a scene that was written or there would be times on set where we'd have some downtime and Paul or Peter would say like, hey, go drive around the corner and film some Wendy iPhone stuff. Or William and I had an afternoon where we went and just shot some Wendy and Lucas like relationship color. So there's, on the one hand, you really feel as an actor, you're responsible for bringing a total and complete person to set as your character. But for the collaborative environment to be such that everybody was really interested in that prep and interested in what we were bringing, it meant that the work was not in vain. And like, it meant that the work felt really, really respected because we had put so much work into everything that's around and behind the script, but everybody wanted to hear about what that work was and everyone's voice was heard. So it was a tall order, but it did not go to waste.
Yeah, they planned everything out so well. I mean, even just reading the script, they even had it sectioned off of like which camera is shooting what and what type of camera it is. And so the preparation that they put into it and Ashley put into it as far as set design and costume, it made it so easy for us to just be like, we get to play. And it was like summer camp. And there were challenges, of course, because it's found footage and it has to be very, lived in and grounded and realistic performance. And so the challenge is to kind of stay in the moment and make sure that you're really honoring the chemistry and what your acting partner is giving you. But it was just so much fun because this is such a small production. They put so much prep into it that it really was, it was pretty freeing too.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about found footage in general is it tends to be a smaller sort of thing, and you really are leaning on each other a lot more, kind of as everyone's saying. There are things about it that are really, really, I don't know, attractive as an actor, because you're just like, I just get to be, as you said, like a 360-degree person. The way this was shot, it was just kind of like we're always on. I mean, my character's, I think, a little bit different. But yeah, like, there were so many things like I come in and with this character, there's a lot of mystery. There's some elements that kind of are like less grounded. And so sort of kind of knowing it was a challenge and it was something that I was like, okay, I don't want to overplay it. I don't want to underplay it. I just want to kind of do what it calls for and not more. And it was so helpful to talk to them about the character, and then kind of get like sort of like a lot of the lore, like a lot of the things about this world, about the cosmology of everything that's kind of going on, were things that at one point, like he was explaining things, like my character came in and sort of talked about those things, but then very, very wisely, they kind of cut down a little bit of that. And they're like, no, we want more mystery. And so it was really, really helpful to have them to lean on, to have Ashley's like yeah, prop and production design and all that stuff to lean on. And so yeah, that was just really, really great.
I mean, we were making adjustments on the fly as a team in a way that is so kind of rare and can be so dangerous. But I had such trust in this whole group that everyone understood the assignment to the nth degree, so that we could go, okay, hold on, we're doing this instead. Yep, it works. Go. And then we would just do that. Versus, whereas on another environment, it could have been like, oh no, what have we done? And I never felt like we didn't have it under our control.
I think those that kind of like collaboration too, I think is the reason why like all of us, we all feel kind of close, and we all feel very invested in the material in a way that's different than a lot of movies, because they were open to our ideas. And so there is some level, we all have some level of authorship here. And it's like, it's their movie, but it's also kind of like our movie in a way. And that is really rare. Like, that's really rare.
There's two things I want to say. One is, there's a reason, there's like a huge group of people here on this interview, but honestly, this is like probably 70% of the total amount of people that were on set in any given day. Like, it was very, very small. And what John said is absolutely right, that it's everybody here brought so much to it. The other thing I wanted to say is, one of my favorite moments of this film is like a week or two before production, we got together with the actors over at Williams' house, and Nell was on Zoom, and just to talk about characters. Yeah. And Peter and I just sat and they talked for like an hour straight, all about like, not stuff on the page, but just the backstory, their interpersonal relationships. And at one point, somebody looked at us and we were like, is this okay? We're like, we're not saying anything. This is incredible. Keep doing it. They all brought so much to it. And again, that's why you're doing an interview with like 8 people, because these are the people that made the movie, not just us.
Well, I think also it's as freeing as this found footage can be. It's also other films have a certain, you're like, now you're in a wide, now you're in a medium, now you're in a close-up, and there's a rhythm. And we're like, okay, cool. And like, as an actor, sometimes you don't want to think about process at that point, but it's kind of like, okay, now I know, okay, we're here, this scene is about this, and now we're in a close-up, this scene is in here. And there's this kind of a rhythm, or sort of like a, I don't know, something that you can kind of be used to, but in something like this, you're a little more naked, which just necessitates all, trust all the more. And so it's great to really have that.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the film has these great moments of dread, and some of the stuff on that we see on the tape and in other tapes is just so weird and sinister. And I think that genre fans are going to have a lot of fun with this. I don't, however, think that people that suffer with what is it, trypophobia, are going to have the best time. Are you ready to traumatize these poor people?
That is great.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that I think I have the trypophobia, and like Peter and I, like all of the horror elements in here are the things that really bother us.
Yeah.
And that's what we like to lean into, because we know, okay, if it actually gets under our skin and bothers us, then it's going to work for other people. So like, we drew a lot of inspiration from Junji Ito, the manga artist or author. And lots of stuff with holes and bodies and things like that, and spirals, and it was stuff that just really bothered us. And like, I mean, Junji Ito stuff I love, and it is a struggle for me to get through it. And I watch horror movies all the time, but those drawings are so difficult.
I think the script, if I'm remembering right, the script actually very specifically called out the tryptophobia.
Oh yeah,
it was like this moment is going to trigger tryptophobia as future reference. But yeah, it's. The horror and the dread of it, we wanted to mine that just sense of unease, and hopefully put the audience on their back foot to wonder how far it's going to take things and where things are going to go, because it has moments that I don't think are entirely unpredictable, but are the movie at one point hits a ramp where it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And we designed that ramp to use to our advantage to sort of catch people off guard of like, oh wait, what is actually going to happen next? Because I didn't think they were going to go to point A, so I don't know how they're going to get to point B, kind of thing.
I'm so glad you brought up. Is it tryptophobia? Like, it's such a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a thing where you're like, what is that? And you look it up and go, I have it. Immediately. It's like, I didn't know it was a thing, and now it pervades my very being.
And then the tryptophobia thing actually is a great sort of example of how our process works because it was written and designed to be that way. On the day, for particularly for one of those moments, Meredith, our special effects person, there was a really great practical appliance that created that effect. And then in post, Aaron Moorhead doing visual effects, cleanup and touch up on stuff, he just cranked it to 11. So it's like it kind of kept becoming more unsettling every time someone else was like, "Oh, what about this?" And it just got grosser and grosser.
That sucks. I love it.
I mean, you mentioned Aaron Moorhead there. This film was made, in partnership with Rustic Films. That team have a reputation for making some really special films. How does it sort of feel to now be under that banner and part of their family?
It's very, very surreal and the kind of thing that shouldn't have worked out the way that it worked out. Because when Paul and I were putting this project together, we had designed it to be something we were just going to do ourselves. And when we reached out to Dave Lawson at Rustic to pick their brain about the challenges, the production aspects of that they ran into with Something in the Dirt, which also has a sort of found footage, faux doc, multimedia, mixed media aspect to it. When we first sent that email, I think Paul and I's like silent little like pipe dream was, and what if they want to make it? What if they want to produce it? And so then the fact that it became a full Rustic film, it's just a huge honor. Paul and I are big, big fans of everything they've been doing for years. And it made getting the movie made easier because it is such a weird project that I could see when we present someone the script, there's a bit of a like, ooh, I don't know if they can do this. But then when you go, and Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead and Dave Lawson are involved, they're like, oh, I've seen their movies. Like it gave I think it gave people permission to trust us knowing that they were involved as well.
And working with them was a genuine dream come true. And they just pushed us to make it weirder and weirder and lean into those things. Don't have to explain everything. Like just lean into the client in these moments and things like that. And it was really cool to have producers that are pushing you in the weird direction, not in the let's make this as broad as possible. And that was really special.
And obviously, for those that can't be at TriBeCa, what is the plan going forward? Are there going to be more festival screenings? Are we at a release date sort of time yet? What where can people find this in the future?
I mean, we don't have those exact plans yet. It's sort of, we're going to see what the reaction is out of TriBeCa. XYZ Films has already preemptively sort of picked up the film for worldwide sales rights, meaning that they're trying to find homes for it around the world. And I think a lot of it's going to, as it does for so many independent films, it's going to depend on what the reaction is tonight and beyond. But I mean, Paul and I are huge, huge supporters of film festivals and what those can do to independent films. So the hope would be that it would have a life on the fest circuit and beyond. But we are very much so in a state of limbo right now where we don't know what the future of it looks like.
We've never seen it with an audience.
So we've never seen it with an audience. And so we are very, very grateful for people like you, Kat, who are coming on to put a spotlight on it early. It means a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Like I say, as soon as I sort of read like the brief synopsis, I needed to see it. I think I put a plea out on social media for like, somebody let me watch this film. So thank you guys for sharing your art, and your best of luck with tonight's screening. And I'll keep my fingers crossed for some UK festivals in the future.
Yeah. Let's go. Thank you.